Hello and welcome to the first annual football mascot fighting other football mascots somewhere in France invitational tournament. Probably argue the next one needs a slightly shorter name there, Chris. We have got a big one here between Nantes and Rennes mascots. As you can see, a first challenger's come in here and oh Jesus, oh Lord, the head's come off. It's a catastrophic injury, a serious situation here at the first annual football mascot. Oh no, it's bad. How could they let this happen? Heads are seriously gonna roll here, Darren. Get the fuck out of the studio. Yo guys, it is your boy Nirin here, and you are watching FTW. This is of course the series where it brings you the best and more frequently the worst of what football has to offer during the last 7 days. What's been kicking off in the world this week? Well, Paris is being its usual self, as an infestation of bedbugs have taken over the city. French bedbugs. Hi, listen, don't let them hear about tax rates going up.
Soyons honnêtes, nous sommes français et donc à chaque fois qu'il y a un petit inconvénient, nous devrions nous émeuter, même en tant qu'insectes.
These lot have got more chance of delivering a Champions League than PSG, to be fair. Declan Rice will be on holiday, waking up to 371 bites on his shoulder blade. And here we have bedbugs munching James Milner after a 6-hour training session, gym class, half marathon and Olympic heptathlon. Now, on to the football, and what a mental week. Top of the Premier League billing was Liverpool v Spurs. The Reds with a chance to go top. Fuck off. Yeah, new season, new sport, ladies and gentlemen. That's snowfallingly sensational. I spoke about it in more detail in this video here, but Liverpool were honestly robbed of a result versus Tottenham after a VAR mistake and 2 red cards. Gakpo gave the Reds hope, but a Matip OG gave Spurs the points. The Singapore Tiger Cup, you'll never sing that. Now, the main error here from VAR was a Luis Diaz offside. It leads you to question whether VAR is the technology we thought it was. Now, today's sale is this beautiful VAR unit. Costly for Liverpool, but not for you. There's 20 available, and that's not just the collective hair follicles of the referees. I mean, honestly, it's just $49.99. We thought about going even cheaper, but this is where we drew the line. Well, honestly, I'm glad someone did, James. That Liverpool statement after was damning. A lot of words, really, when in reality we could just rephrase it ourselves. Curtis Jones wasn't too happy after being turned away by the FA, asking for a replay.
And he's just literally told me to fuck off. He said I was a fat, smelly cunt.
The PGMOL released the audio, and it was an absolute mess.
Check complete. Check complete. It's fine. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, mate.
Wait.
On-field decision was offside. Are you happy with this?
Yeah.
Are you happy with this?
Offside
On-field
decision, goal. Yeah, that's what it does.
What?
On-field decision was offside. Are you happy with this image? Yeah, it's onside. The image we gave you is onside.
Left back.
He's gone offside. Yeah, they've restarted. Yeah.
Can't do anything.
Fucking hell, man.
Basically, they didn't know what the on-field decision even was, and by the time they changed their minds, the game had already restarted. The contrast between what the boys are telling themselves on a night out to what they're telling themselves when they're 3 hours late for work the next morning. Ange Postecoglou was on the sidelines knowing Liverpool had been stiffed here. Meanwhile, Alexis McAllister was not too happy on Insta, commenting on Spurs centre-back Romero's Insta, saying that it's easy to win when you've got 12 players, including the referee, to which Romero told him to cry at home. There's going to be tension between the two of them on their next international duty. McAllister could well get fined or potentially even banned. Now, all he's got to do is turn around and apologise. Say it was human error, mate. This man had an absolute nightmare with a bet. All he needed for 9 grand was a Luis Diaz goal. Are you winning, Dad? No, I lost the house. Quick, get your stuff, we're leaving. Ange didn't take too kindly to claims in a press conference afterwards, suggesting that his side didn't deserve to win the game.
You nightmares.
Do you think it's going to look good on the news carrying on like a total
I don't give a f***. I didn't do shit.
Meanwhile, in the reverse fixture, and Jurgen Klopp's already got a plan of action for the Aussie. Ange is now unbeaten in 51 games at home, which is insane. Partly here due to Heung-min Son's goal early on. Though in the tunnel, he had absolutely no time for a Liverpool mascot airing him by accident. There's only room for one son in this town. Obviously, VAR and the PGMOL have had an absolute catastrophe of a week, but it does not excuse the unacceptable abuse of Destiny Udogie from certain Liverpool fans. It's never the answer, and for such a young kid who's had a great start to his Premier League career, I do feel for him. Obviously, we deserved something out of the game, but Tottenham are a great side, and we'll see now whether they can keep this momentum going. It's been just as mental a week in the Champions League, though, and we start with United.
Oh, no.
The Red Devils remain on 0 points in their group after a disaster disastrous loss to Galatasaray. Mauro Icardi's winner sealed their fate. They've been defeated by a man defeated by his own marriage half the time, and he celebrated on IG, saying Manchester is yellow and red. He'd missed the penalty just 2 minutes before, following on from an Andre Onana shocking pass. I need his audio, mate.
So we don't have the capacity.
Samuel Eto'o was at home watching this performance after falling out with the Cameroonian. They've gone from DDG to NSG. Tom Heaton was on the bench sarcastically clapping him after another disaster class. You know, Andre basically got Casemiro sent off and was useless for the first goal as well, which to rub salt in the wounds was scored by former United player Wilfried Zaha. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's a Nana, man. And as for Casemiro, him and Amrabat are not cooking. There's a rat infestation, a 1-star hygiene rating, and a Deliveroo score is not good. Amrabat was doing his washing by the corner flag for the third goal. We've got him here attempting to track back as Icardi slotted in. Meanwhile, former United player Paul Scholes was reportedly excited about the performance, and there's still a lot to see in the team. He was just excited by the 44 feet that he was seeing out on the pitch. Rasmus Højlund looks like he started well, but that is about all United fans can take from this, because they lost to Crystal Palace in the League 2. Whoa, what a week. It's Wednesday. It's going to be Eric 10 defeats at this rate. The Dutch boss will have to rally the troops in the Championship next season.
Fantastic results across the country. Plymouth. What a night they've had in Plymouth. And then Stoke. Brilliant.
Marcus Rashford ghosted in this one and, to be honest, hasn't been his usual self this season so far. And it left Crystal Palace fans confused when they saw him get on the ball.
What is going on? What went on there?
Andre Onana's trying his best to calm down the gang. Meanwhile, Piers Morgan is meat riding again, sending a pic of him and Ronaldo to Eric Ten Hag. You do realise if Ronaldo was still in this team, he'd be down the tunnel inside 20 minutes.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Arsenal decided not to turn up to European duties either, with a 2-1 loss to French side Lens. They're a side that was good last season and obviously upset the odds, but are only just above the drop this time around in Ligue 1. They lost to a department in Specsavers, mate. Ligue 1 took the opportunity to say that the Farmers League had struck again. Meanwhile, Lens' centre mid could be seen trying to convince Leandro Trossard to join the league.
You should do what I did. Get into farming.
Eli Wahi shone here and ultimately scored the winning goal in this game. Mikel Arteta's already trying to bring him to Arsenal.
You want a job? Come to me, buddy. I'll get you a job.
But they might want to be careful. Bukayo Saka's going to be left scarred when he sees Wahi's Wikipedia page. Speaking of Bukayo, this kid is never rested, for God's sake. He's more present down the right wing than the Conservative Party. We hate the poor, only care about ourselves. We won't pay for trains because we're incompetent. Oh, for fuck's sake. But most importantly, we hate foreigners. Suella, you're Indian. Yeah, no, anyway, back to hating the poor people. If you've been keeping up with Arsenal this week, you've probably seen this man, who is quite literally everywhere at the moment. This man's a football fan at 3 and a chimney sweep at 4. This is Ian Wrong. Look, I love it that this man's got a brand, but I'd be careful. I saw an e-fit release by the police this week. First of all, that I've seen that guy in Wii boxing, mate. He's going to be very concerned when he sees the feds charging towards him.
I'm fucking shitting myself.
At Real Madrid, and Jude Bellingham scored again. What a surprise. He was interviewed by CBS afterwards, where their reporter told him that he's the direct mix of all of the pundits in the studio.
When you defend, because you had to do a lot of defending, you look like Jamie Carragher. When you attack, sometimes you look like Thierry Henry.
Oh, right? Not Micah, no?
In the set pieces, you're like Micah.
I'll take that. It's a good combination of 3 players, so I'll take that. And yeah, hopefully Micah's happy with that.
Just call this the Meek Show. What are you guys doing here?
Now, at Newcastle, and I'm supposed to be getting on a flight tomorrow, so I didn't have the time to talk about this, but I couldn't leave it out. If I miss that flight, I want compensation in the form of a Greg sausage roll. But for Newcastle fans, it will be worth it.
Shea's gonna shoot.
The Geordies slapped PSG 4-1 to go top of their Champions League table in easily the most ridiculous scoreline of the week. We live in a world where Sean Longstaff and Dan Burn scored against Kylian Mbappe. We spent so long asking how Dan Burn will handle PSG that we didn't even contemplate PSG handling Dan Burn. Kylian Mbappe was not his usual formidable self here and was pretty much non-existent throughout. He was asked where he wants to go for his next holiday after the press conference.
Where?
Madrid.
Forget the holiday, he'll be signing for Real Madrid yesterday. Ligue 1's Farmers League tweet has not particularly aged well, and it only happened about 2 minutes ago in the video. And Ousmane Dembele played like a farmer in this one. He may well have 2 feet that are equal ability, but they're both equally as shit as the other. Meanwhile, Miguel Almiron is another hero alongside Fabian Schär, and Jack Grealish's comments about him last year are looking more like a compliment with every passing day. Meanwhile, down on the touchline, Jason Tindall was enjoying things. He'll have probably asked to swap shirts with Kylian Mbappe at full time. An unbelievable performance, and truly deserved for both sides. Newcastle were great, PSG absolutely shocking. German side Union Berlin have a pretty strong message for UEFA about their morals and priorities. Meanwhile, Copenhagen faced off against Bayern Munich this week and were testing their scoreboard. Seems like they didn't have too much faith the day before kickoff, but honestly, it went much better than expected. Now back in the Premier League, and a SW6 is finally a W for Chelsea. The Blues beat Fulham 2-0 at Craven Cottage thanks to goals from Cole Palmer and Mikhailo Mudryk. What the fuck is actually going on here? The unthinkable has actually happened. Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo were delighted seeing the Ukrainian finally score. And in a week where Mudryk saw his ultimate team card and wasn't happy with it, neither am I. 75 is far too high, mate. At least he has managed to get himself on the score sheet finally. Before the game, and Domino's parked a van outside, showing off the amount of pizzas they've delivered since Chelsea scored their last goal. Unfortunately, it's not aged too well, but at least it's a pretty small van. The version that they need for Tottenham winning a trophy, an altogether different prospect. Chelsea's admin is ecstatic, realising he can actually choose a goal of the month this time. Meanwhile, Frank Lampard was in the studio. He has to be the reason for the win. I mean, look, we're finally at the relegation battle, hey? Do you know what I'm saying? No, but seriously, we're just as good as Luton. To be fair, though, it was only Fulham. Willian is from a different generation than half of these Chelsea players. David Washington's his nephew. Meanwhile, late on in the game, and VAR somehow managed to miss Thiago Silva being physically assaulted. It was looked at, but nothing was given. Get him to the hospital right now, and the doctor's gonna be gassed when he sees him on the ward.
Oh, Thiago Silva.
Crying out loud. Elsewhere in the Premier League, and Brighton managed to hold 6 to Aston Villa, featuring an Ollie Watkins hat-trick in another Unai Emery masterclass. This league makes absolutely no sense low-key. Villa slapping Brighton, who slapped Newcastle, who slapped Villa.
What's wrong with y'all niggas? What's wrong with you?
Brighton's defence honestly gave up halfway through this fixture.
I can't do anything. I can't do anything.
Seagulls supporters are tearful, realising they can't just play Manchester United every week. Ansu Fati's had the reality check of shipping 6 goals and having to eat fish and chips instead of tapas every weekend.
I don't promote the violence, but many people need like some good slap right now in this club.
Meanwhile, Unai Emery's annoyed that they didn't score 7. And in the most shocking result of the week, Man City were beaten by struggling Wolves thanks to a Hwang winner. Not that Pep Guardiola remembered his name.
The Korean guy.
And look, listen, if you're Wolves' admin, of course you're going to remind him of that as the winner goes in. Man City are a completely different prospect when Rodri isn't in their side. Wolves took the lead here thanks to a Ruben Diaz own goal with an assist from Pedro Neto, and that meant the Wolves were leading the game in the first half with 0 shots. City grabbed an equaliser, but they were done dirty in the second half. Lamina was caught creasing in the face of Edison, and honestly, this is the type of content we love to see. Would you rather be at your child's birth or Manchester City's downfall? Luton won. Yeah, well, actually, we can, because them beating Everton was probably the most inevitable thing ever, and Sean Dyche, at this point, has realised that he wants the club to sack him.
Get me arrested! Open the door! Open the door! Open the door! Let's go!
Now, over on Twitter, and one Chelsea fan was getting at Zenit St. Petersburg for being a finished club. The Russian side simply aren't having it from Premier League's mid-table side. It's a shithousery award for them. At Forest v Brentford, and Matt Turner managed to get away with volleying Johan Wissa. Look, he thought he was going to be sent off before realising that VAR's officials had stood up and clapped him. Meanwhile, the continuing saga of Aston Villa's kit suppliers is going on, because obviously their wet look shirt has been complained about by the men's side, but will have even more disastrous implications for the women's team for obvious reasons. And news has since developed that Castor got the approval for their shirt from Russell Brand, who gave it to his female co-workers and said it was absolutely fine. Now, over in Italy, and Victor Osimhen scored again for Napoli in a 4-0 win over Lecce. Their TikTok admin is absolutely fuming.
I have been accused of being a
a racist. But if being highly suspicious of all foreigners makes you a racist, then yeah, I mean, sure. Lock me up and throw away the key.
Meanwhile, coconut salesmen across the country are sweating already, knowing that Napoli's TikTok team were about to do something very stupid. Over at Roma, and a referee went down with cramp in their most recent Serie A game. I'm sorry, well, how are we doing this, mate? You've not even got to kick anything, lad. He's gonna be red carding his own calf here. We've got a fan in the crowd prepping to come on and be a stand-in linesman. Meanwhile, a call is gonna have to be made. Yeah, look, listen, I'm gonna have to come into A&E. I know I'm not one of the players, alright? Stop judging me. After the game, and Jose Mourinho's talking about how he'd love the depth of Juventus' side, blah, blah, blah. But look at this man's pocket. What's even going on here? This is what's going on in FSG's pockets, mate. Why has he got his hand through the thing? How do you even put your phone inside your pocket there, Jose?
Good question.
At Inter Milan, and Lautaro Martinez hopped off the bench to score 4 goals in a 4-0 win, becoming the first player, I think, to ever do that in the league's history. This man came on and sat forward in his chair. Poor Lecce defenders seeing him burst through for another.
Oh no! You're having a laugh! It's 4-0!
Over in Spain, and Sergio Ramos was commenting on how he'd love to score against Barcelona whilst playing for Sevilla when the two sides clashed this week, thinking about what celebration he'd want to do years after playing for their sworn enemies, Real Madrid.
There might not be any hope for me again.
And Sergio scores in his own net. You actually couldn't write the script for this, could you? You just know this is going to anger him to his very soul. Barcelona players sneaking into his Sevilla hotel with a new duvet for him. Here we have Sergio in tears of anger as he's labelled a tapas merchant, a paella provider, a chorizo challenger. Meanwhile, at Real Sociedad, and Takefusa Kubo scored but looked like he tweaked his hamstring, only to tweak something else. I know, listen, it's sus from you, Kubo. I'm not gonna lie. Out on the slopes as well. Oh yes, that's tantalizingly terrific. Meanwhile, in the stands, and one Bilbao fan was unfortunately caught up in their enemy's celebrations. But listen, he took it like a champ. At least there's that. Over at Girona, and they finally lost their unbeaten record to start the season at the hands of Real Madrid. Jude Bellingham scored again. Look, I could literally record that line of commentary and just put it in every week. Have a day off, mate. Aurelien Tchouameni quoted Ruud van Nistelrooy and Cristiano Ronaldo by saying that goals are sometimes like ketchup. I don't really know what the comparison, but who served that ketchup, I hear you cry. Meanwhile, Antoine Griezmann of Atletico Madrid was happy with his performance this weekend, and even happier with the change that he decided to make to his fantasy football squad.
¿Tú cómo dirías que estás al 100% ya o todavía te falta un poco?
No, todavía me queda un poquito, pero ya me he fichado en la fantasy y eso me da un plus.
Gracias.
Over in Germany, and there's controversy going on at Bayern Munich right now, as Jerome Boateng is back training with the club and may end up signing permanently after leaving the club many years ago. And the reason there's controversy there is because he was involved in a domestic abuse case, which then saw the unfortunate death of his former partner. He is a scummy man. Thomas Tuchel came out and defended the fact that he's training with the club by saying that you're innocent until proven guilty. Let's see. Now, innocent until you're proven guilty only applies when you're not already proven guilty. Is that what we're doing now? Is that what we're on? Anytime someone does something that's heinous, horrendous, anytime someone does something that's so bad that their own brother refuses to communicate with them again, we'll just say innocent till proven guilty, even though they're not innocent in the eyes of the law. I don't know, either way, at least Getafe know that they might get themselves a new manager and centre-back combination here.
Sign the contract, big boy, sign the contract.
It's just so poor and misinformed, clearly. I hope young Bayern fans aren't seeing this and thinking that he wasn't charged, because it's a terrible story and an awful outcome. Elsewhere at Bayern, and Serge Gnabry is at least performing on the pitch, and by performing, I mean performing stunts.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Meanwhile, Nigerian striker Victor Boniface has had his ultimate team card revealed, and also his face in the game. He's not happy about either of them. Our new favourite Nigerian striker will be having words with EA very shortly.
I know that ain't who I think it is.
Meanwhile, in France, and there is football heritage going on in Ligue 1, breast heritage going on in Ligue 1, and down in the National League in France, Avranches goalkeeper, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Anthony Bouve, has become a hero by saving a Panenka penalty in the 90th minute, only to go up the other end and do the unthinkable in the 95th. Now Now that it's time for your goals of the week, and we've got more screamers for you this time. Now I know what you're thinking, Fede Valverde should be here, and to be fair, he did strike the ball as if it had committed bank fraud on his extended family. But technically, this is an own goal because it bounced off the keeper, so it can't be included. Instead, we're heading over to Hong Kong, of all places, where we've got a beautiful example of some Jogo Benito. Not quite the same type of goal over in Italy, where at Catania we've had the beauty, the skill of football. Instead, this Don's just twatting it from the halfway line. And finally, over in Norway, your team, Bodø Glimt, in this situation needs a goal. We're into injury time, and what better way to get an important goal than to get a bicycle kick important goal. Over in the MLS, and Lionel Messi is out injured right now, and Inter Miami as a result are dead. Honestly, these lot have fallen apart without the Argentine. They've lost 3 games on the bounce after, I think, going unbeaten with him in the team. Their physios will be trying all they can to make sure that he gets better soon. Meanwhile, their backup forward is trying to convince himself that he can actually do the job as a replacement.
Messi's alright. He does a few steps. I'm up there with him.
Meanwhile, whilst his family and friends are dressed for a posh occasion, Leo could be seen here in an Argentina shirt.
Might be autistic.
Look at here, man. He's always representing. Though was looking quite stressed, trying to search through his wardrobe and seeing DePaul away kits for a family dinner only. And over in Argentina, we head over to the derby of all derbies between Boca and River Plate. It ended in River Plate victory thanks to Salomon Rondon and Enzo Diaz, with some questionable defending in between. Boca fans deciding to throw corner flags onto the pitch at celebrating River Plate players. How did they even get these in? What's going on here? But that, ladies and gentlemen, isn't going to distract the River Plate fans from having a good time.
Hello all, and welcome to The Beautiful Game, the segment where we take a look at the poetic and brilliant side of the game that we love. We are back by popular demand for yet more glorious beauty.
Necessária do Soteldo aqui, ó. E o Seba também respondeu fora da medida, pois não?
Deu para ver pela expressão do Ramon que ele não aprovou.
And that concludes The Beautiful Game.
Now over in Saudi Arabia, and Cristiano Ronaldo managed to get himself in a victory in the Asian Champions League over a side from Tajikistan. Shout out Ronaldo, man, teaching youngsters about new countries all the time. And during this one, he found himself beefing their goalkeeper on a regular basis. Al-Ittihad in the same competition refused to play their game against an Al-Rith after a statue was unveiled by the side of the pitch commemorating an assassinated Iranian general. Now, there's been tension between Iran and Saudi Arabia, to say the least. Any two sides who have played against each other from these two nations have been playing on neutral territory since 2016, and so the game was called off. Karim Benzema must have been confused, walking up to claim his Man of the Match award after 6 minutes of warm-up. Over in the MLS, and there's crazy scenes there, where at Sacramento Republic, Davion Kimbra came on to make his debut aged 13. Honestly, I didn't even know the laws of the game allowed for this to happen, but yep, Davion came on to make his debut. I mean, he's been cast as like an MLS wonder kid for a little bit. I think I saw a video from Zealand about it, but it goes without saying that he's broken the record to be the youngest player to ever play in the division. In Brazil, and Corinthians players were slightly confused when listening to the national anthem.
White figures. Muito bom ver 3 São Paulinos secando o Corinthians. Tomara que esse jogo comente igual ao passado. Muito bom.
Oh, yes! As long as he's going to stand the right way when he's actually in goal. Oh, for crying out loud. At Santos, and their dolphin mascot has been advocating violence. Staying in Brazil, Grêmio's mascot is an undercover agent. But all of that drama in Brazil wasn't enough to keep this Internacional fan awake.
Send that to your fucking friends!
There was drama in Scotland between Motherwell and Celtic, where Motherwell thought they'd rescued a draw late on, and it saw a pitch invasion from their fans, only for Celtic to win the game just 2 minutes later, and for their supporters to get their own back at the Motherwell faithful. Nicolas Ladero spent 30 seconds using a towel to dry a football ahead of a throw-in. An important throw-in, clearly. This man was about to channel his inner Rory Delap.
Quando
fucking hell! Hey, you wasted all of our time. What was the point? I'm going home, mate. That's the end of the video. Meanwhile, forget about a man that can't even take a throw-in competently. Why not hire a dog that can take souls away dribbling? Eddie Rand's under 23s, and this player was at least relieved to realise that his yellow card had been taken away, before having his heart ripped out of his chest, realising that he was actually replaced by a red card instead. And a small side called Olive a Moscovide, I think, had a very wholesome reaction to realising they were playing a massive side in Sporting Lisbon in the Portuguese Cup. Alright, lad, you want some water? Yeah, nah, go on, mate. Yeah, I'll have some. Is this sparkling? Aye, you're a wrong'un, bruv. What are we doing round here? Meanwhile, closer to home and in the Vanarama National, there is the revelation that Filed, ahead of their game against Barnet this week, only sold one ticket before the game. Someone get this man a pint when it kicks off. Now, though, for the moment you've all been waiting for, because over in Romania, and there were surreal scenes in the aftermath of Otolul's game versus Dinamo Bucharest. Post-match, and one of the managers was giving his thoughts in an interview afterwards, only for everybody's phones to go off simultaneously.
La faza penaltului este comentat la Pop, eu cred că a fost o decizie corectă.
Well, the reason for this interruption was a false alarm. There was some kind of object falling from the sky. Not the type of rocket you hope to be talking about when it comes to your side in a press conference. Now, over at Galatasaray again, their admin tweeted that this finish was colder than his ex's heart. I don't know what's going on for this admin, but can we check that he's actually okay? We've spoken a lot about VAR this week, but over in Japan, things seem to be a lot more simple. Suck your mum, it's not a goal. Well, yeah, I guess we've got to go with him then, mate. Yeah, I guess we've got to chalk it out. In Peru, and there were wholesome scenes there. Inclusivity for all who want to get involved in wild celebrations there. There's the revelation that Sao Paulo have signed a 16-year-old Brazilian called Thierry Henry. Someone do a DNA test on this kid immediately. And CBS pundit Thierry's going to get caught out when the results for who the dad is come in.
Hi, my name is Thierry Henry.
Incorrect.
Over in Mexico, and we've got another injured referee here. Someone has got to do some serious looking into this mistake coming from the Brazilian lower leagues, because in my opinion, there's something sinister going on. How do you concede that goal as the goalkeeper? In Jamaica, and I reckon this sound effect should be compulsory before all screamers hit the top corner. Scottish side Albion Rovers, I don't know if you can tell, but they're sponsored by Subway now. There's only one sub that should be happening this week, and that's this kit getting out of there. Meanwhile, over in Wales, and probably the worst own goal of the week, has to go to Brandon Diaw.
Diaw. Wel, Brandon Diaw wedi reiti yn rhwyd ei hun am camgymeriad erchyll.
Now that it's time for Still 0-0, and you guys know the score by now, this is a segment of the show where I bring to the best of Sunday League and amateur football. And if you can get it right, a long throw-in in the world of Sunday League can get you a mountain of goals a year. And that's where this man comes in. This man's shoulders have a V6 engine and a gearbox in them. You can't tell me otherwise. On to the weird stuff though now. In Brazil, and there is the ridiculous story of Diniz. If you didn't already know, Diniz has agreed to take over at Flamengo for the rest of the 2023 season. This because Tite, who was going to take over the role, doesn't want to do so till 2024. Seems calm. Caretaker manager. The one problem with this is he's currently the Fluminense manager and the Brazilian national team manager, which means he's the boss of 3 teams at the same time. And when Fluminense and Flamengo play each other later this season, he's going to have to toss a coin to decide which team he will manage in the game. Over in Slovakian football, and shout out to Denis Kukučka, who at the age of 45 played in goal for the first time at the top level. Yep, that's right. The 45-year-old had never played in the top flight until now, so better late than never. The crazy thing is, though, the opponent, Trenchin, had his son, Michal Kukučka, in goal, aged 21. Mental scenes, mate. But finally, and this is a serious story coming from France, and it's a story of an OGC Nice player who, following on from personal relationship issues, had been seen standing over a tall bridge in France. French emergency services were called to the scene and did manage to convince him to come down. But Alexis, the player who it is, we're all with you. The French league are with you, and hopefully his club are too, and can help him into a better headspace and see him back on the pitch soon. That, though, is going to wrap up football this week, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then feel free to slap a like on the video, and of course, subscribe if you are new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @officialfng on Twitter and on Insta. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.